Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Astrology After Dark. I am Kay Katrice, and so tonight discussing aspects. Okay, we're going to be talking about how the planets interact with each other. Okay, now if you not have your copy of the ebook From Breakup to Brilliance, you are going to the second step in the natal astrology healing method, which is aspects. Okay, so that's the A in there. Okay, but if you are new to me, real quick before I jump in, my name is Katrice. I am the Natal Chart Navigator, and on this channel, I teach divorced women how to use their astrology natal charts to rebuild their lives after divorce. Okay. And so also, if you are watching this live, go ahead and comment live. And if you're watching on the replay, comment replay. And don't forget, if you have any questions, make sure you ask your questions in the comments, and also interact with the content. Okay, I like to have dialogue and not just be talking to the camera. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's jump in and get started. Okay, so like I said, the aspects are how the planets interact with each other. Okay, and there are there's about 7 aspects, but tonight we're going to go over like the main aspects, which are the conjunction, the square, the opposition, the trine, the sextile, and then the in conjunction. Okay, so those are the 6 main planetary aspects. Okay, and I'm also going to give some examples of aspects, of each aspect as we go through them. Okay, so if you have your pen and paper, your notebook, um, take notes. Okay, so I'm going to start with the conjunction. Okay, so the conjunction is when planets are between 0 to 12 degrees apart. Now, it depends on the astrologer. For me personally, I say when they are from 0 to 10 degrees apart. Anything after that, I believe that they're a little too far away for it to have a real impact. But it really just depends on the astrologer. Some people say that the orb should be smaller, um, but for me, it's 0 to 10 degrees apart. Okay. Now, this aspect, when you have this aspect, it makes it's a neutral it's a neutral aspect. It's not, I don't think it's challenging, and I don't think it's helpful. I think it's a neutral. It's kind of merge. It's just neutral. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So what a conjunction does is it combines the energy of 2 or more planets to form one cohesive expression. Okay, and so this mixture of energy, it can be beneficial, it can be challenging, it can be neutral. One, depending on the specific planets that are involved. Um, 2, the quality of the sign that they are in. And 3, how you actually perceive it. Okay. And I think the third thing is the most important thing, because 2 people can have the exact same conjunction, and one person can perceive it as it being good, and the other person can perceive it as it being bad. So that third one, how you perceive it, um, also makes quite a few difference. Now, a conjunction, will be in the same sign, or it can be in two different signs with two planets that are close in proximity. Okay. So let me give you an example of this. An example of this would be, say you have your Mercury and your Saturn conjunct. Okay, so Mercury is, say, at 16 degrees and Saturn is at 20 degrees. Okay, that's a 4-degree difference. Okay, that makes those planets conjunct, and they are in the sign of Libra. Okay, so Saturn is exalted in Libra, and Mercury likes being in Libra because it's air energy. Okay. So that is a conjunction. Those planets are going to meld together. Their energies are going to merge. So having Mercury conjunct Saturn can look something like you are a very you're not somebody who does small talk. Okay. Because Saturn is a planet of, it's a serious planet, right? And Mercury is the mind, it's your thoughts, it's communication. And so you're not going to be somebody who likes small talk, okay? You're going to want to kind of get, to, talk about things that are like important or that are of value, okay? Um, but it also, being in the sign of Libra, because Libra is such a social sign, you are going to be somebody who is going to be able, and Libra is ruled by Venus, okay? So that has some significance to it as well, too. Um, you're going to be somebody who your voice, you're going to have a pleasant voice. People are going to like to listen to you no matter what you're talking about. You have a nice, pleasant voice. Okay. So that is the conjunction. Okay. So now moving on to the square. Squares are when planets are 90 degrees apart. Okay. So these can be challenging aspects. And so the energy of the square brings friction and challenge. And so squares require your conscious physical effort to overcome difficulties or to achieve success. And so squares represents problems that you must consciously work on throughout your life. And so squares are 3 signs apart and will be cardinal squares, fixed squares, or mutable squares. So an example of the square aspect would be, say you have Venus in Virgo, and then you have Neptune in Sagittarius. Okay. That is a square because Virgo is mutable earth, Sagittarius is mutable fire. They are three signs apart. Okay. And so having Venus square Neptune can make things foggy in the areas of money, um, love and money specifically. All of the things, pleasure, things that Venus rules. Okay. Neptune is the planet of illusion and delusion. It's fogginess. And so when you have Venus square Neptune, it's like you have rose colored glasses on. Okay. So when it comes to money, you you may not you may be a little lackadaisical with your money, or you may just give be a little frivolous with your money, or not really very financially savvy with your money. In the realm of romance, it could make it to where you can get into relationships that you may be giving more than you are receiving in love. It also can make it to where you don't feel as if you are valued in love, because Venus also represents value, like valuable things. And so it can make it feel like where you're not valued in love. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next aspect, and that is the opposition. Okay. And so with the opposition, planets are 180 degrees apart. And so this is a slightly challenging aspect. And so oppositions are connected with polarity and integration. And the gender of the opposition gives essential information about the nature of the energy that requires balance and compromise. And so oppositions are 7 signs apart and will either be masculine or feminine. Okay. So, an example of this would be you have planets in opposite signs. Okay. So, say you have the moon in Cancer, and you have the sun in Capricorn. Okay. Those are opposite signs. Okay. And those are both feminine energies. Okay. Capricorn and Cancer are both feminine energies, because earth and water are the feminine energies, air and fire are the masculine energies. Okay. And so having your moon in Cancer and your sun in Capricorn, this is going to make there's going to be a little bit of tension in between your sun, which is your vitality, and your inner, which is when your moon, which is your inner world. Okay. And so you may be somebody who you're very ambitious, but you're also emotional. Okay. Um, you know, that sun in it makes you may be someone that really strives for achievement and success, but you are maternal, and so that may clash with your drive for success. Okay. You may be a little too emotional in certain spaces. Okay. If that makes sense. Okay. So that is the opposition. Okay. So you want to be stoic, but your internal is like, no, you may be crying all the time. Not saying that, Cancer people cry all the time. Cancer moons cry all the time, but Cancer moons are a very sensitive energy. Okay. The moon is at home in the sign of Cancer, but it's a very it's a very sensitive energy, and it's very sympathetic. It's also very empathetic. Okay. So you may have your vitality, your sun is like, Capricorn is that stoicism, but and when you're out in the world, you may see that, but then you have to balance not being so stoic and tapping into it. May be hard for you to tap into your emotions, even if you do have that Cancer moon. Okay. So you have to learn balance between the two energies. Okay. All right. So the next one is the trine. And to have a trine in your chart, these are very beneficial, very beautiful, a very beautiful aspect to have. And so these are where the planets are 120 degrees apart. And so the trine aspect brings good fortune and ease, and they represent your natural gifts and an area of life where energy seems to flow into place effortlessly. Okay. Now, trines are 5 signs apart, and they will be in the same element. So, earth, air, fire, or water, and they will be in the same gender, masculine and feminine. So, when you have a trine in your chart, um, this would be, say you have your sun in the first house, and then you have, say, your moon in the fifth house, and then you might have, say, Saturn in the ninth house. Okay. And this will all be in fire. Okay. And so the first house is your house of identity. Then you have in their fifth house, that is what I call the fun house. And then you have in the ninth house, which is like higher education and beliefs. Okay, you have Saturn. Okay, and then what did I say? I said Sun in the first house, Moon in the fifth house. Okay, so because um, they are in connected, they're in the same sign and they are connecting energies. This means that those planets talking to each other are flowing beautifully. And so this is going to show where you don't have to work hard at these energies expressing. They express really easily for you. Okay. And things just kind of flow effortlessly into place. Okay. Now you do have to like, kind of put in the work. You have to be conscious when it comes to trines, because people think that just because you have a trine in your chart that everything's going to be easy. And it's not that it's going to be just super easy. You still have to put in the work and express the energy, but the energy will flow a lot easier versus say if it was a square. And those are in incompatible energies, and you have to consciously overcome the challenges that come with though that aspect. Okay. All right, and then the next one is the sextile. And so with the sextile, planets are 60 degrees apart. And so these are slightly beneficial. They're not as beneficial as the trine, but they still are beneficial. And so the energy of the sextile is one of opportunity. Okay. And so sextiles are beneficial, but they require activation instead of flowing naturally like the trine. And so even though sextiles represent an opportunity, you must take action on the opportunity to reap the rewards. And sextiles are two signs apart, and they are either masculine or they are feminine. Okay. So an example of this would say you have your Venus in the second house in Virgo, and then you have your Jupiter in the fourth house in Scorpio. Okay. So those energies are sextile. Okay. And so both of those planets, Jupiter is the great benefic and Venus is the lesser benefic. Okay. And so you do have to put in the work for this sextile to work, but it's a better opportunity. So it's like having Venus sextile your Jupiter. It can, as you put in the work, it can bring abundance with your money, especially with Venus being in the second house, or your love life, okay, or or any other pleasures, right? And so that is a sextile, but you have to put in more work versus say if it was Venus in the second house of Virgo and Jupiter in the sixth house of, say that was Capricorn, that would be a trine. Okay. And so the energy would flow a little more effortlessly. You wouldn't have to put in so much work. Okay. Um, well, in that scenario, you may, only because um, Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer. So it is in fall in Capricorn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is a restrictive energy. And so Jupiter has to work like really hard in the sign of Capricorn um, to express itself, because it doesn't have the energy is not compatible with it. So it still is a benefic planet. You still will have some benefit. It just won't be as big of a benefit. Like the benefit will be delayed because it's in Saturn. It's in that restrictive energy. It's in a Saturn ruled sign. So it would be restrictive. Okay. But there will still be benefit. You just may have to work a little harder for it, and you may have to wait a little longer for the benefit. But when the benefit comes, when the blessing comes, it comes and it's nice. Okay. It's just not as instant as if it were another sign. Okay. So when you look at, before I get into the last one, which is the in conjunction, when you look at all of these, all of the aspects, when you're analyzing your chart, you have to take into account not only the aspect, you have to take into account the sign that the planet is in, okay? Because that plays a key role in how the planet is, energies is expressed, okay? And so if the planet is in a sign of its detriment or its fall, then it's not going to work as well as if it's in the sign of its home or its exaltation, okay? And so I'll post a community tab. On the community tab, I will post all of the planets and their signs, the sign of their fall, of their detriment, their exaltation and home, so that you can write it down, and so that when you are looking at your chart, then you'll have a reference. You can reference back to it. Okay. So check the community tab. Um, Later tonight, I'll have that on the community tab. Okay. All right. And so um, the very last one it is the in conjunction. Okay. And so this is where planets are 150 degrees apart. Okay. And so with this, these are mostly challenging. Okay. Now, the energy of the in conjunction or the quincunx. So, if you hear other astrologers say quincunx, then they're talking about the in conjunction aspect. Okay. Now, this is considered an unfavorable minor aspect. Okay. And it will not always be clear why there seems to be difficulty in the area of life that's being impacted by the in conjunction. And so dealing with this influence effectively requires psychological healing and a great deal of compromise. Okay. Now, in conjunctions are 6 signs apart, and these signs involved share no common qualities. Okay. So this would be, say you have a planet in your second house, and then 6 signs apart would be in the seventh house. Let's see, you have so second house, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it would be your ninth house. Yeah, it would be your ninth house. So that would be an in conjunction. Okay. Um, so it's like you have Virgo. So say your second house is Virgo. So you have Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, um, Aquarius, and Pisces. No, but that would be opposite. Um, Actually, there's 7 signs apart. It's not 6 signs apart. It's 7 signs apart. My bad. So that would be what comes out of Pisces? Aries. So having your Venus in, say, Virgo, and then say you have your Jupiter in Aries. Okay. That would be an in conjunction. Okay. And so those planets, when they try to talk to each other, the energies are so totally different. They are so totally different that it really requires you to be really focused in on how to maneuver those energies. Okay. Because they are just way different. So you have to take it. Take you have to take into account the signs that they are in. Now, Venus in Virgo, in this example, Venus is in fall, okay? Venus does not work well um, because the energy of Venus and Virgo are just different. Um, and plus, because it's exalted in the sign of Pisces, which is the opposite of Virgo. Okay, so you have to take that into account, and then you have Jupiter in Aries. Aries is fire energy, so Jupiter likes being in fire energy. It is the ruler of Sagittarius, so it likes being in fire energy. So it operates, but when it is talking with Venus, they are on totally different wavelengths when they're talking. And so it just doesn't work, right? And so it has to be a very conscious effort on your part in order to get that to work. Okay. So if you have any questions, let me know what questions do you have about the aspects. Now there are other aspects, but they are minor aspects. But these are aspects that I see a lot in charts. Like these are like the main aspects that I really do see in charts. So I really wanted to make sure that I really went over these so that you understand. And then on next week, I'll actually pull up a chart and we'll really start. I'll start really discussing, letting you see in the chart the different aspects, how it looks in a chart, and kind of break it down. We'll go over each of the aspects. I'll show you live each of the aspects, and we'll kind of do a recap, because aspects can be something that can be kind of tricky to understand at first, and so you kind of need to go over them a little bit to get it. But we'll do that next week. All right. So that's what I have for you in tonight's class. And so I hope you found value in it. If you did, please do share this live out with another divorcee who could like to understand how to aspects in their chart. Also, if you have not gotten your free copy of my ebook from Breakup to Brilliance, the Natal Astrology Healing Method, you definitely want to do that because it explains exactly how the Natal Astrology Healing Method works. Okay. Also, if you have not subscribed, then you definitely want to subscribe and click the bell so that you get notified whenever I go live or upload new content to the channel. Okay. And then if you would like to book an energetic calibration reading with me, then you can definitely do so. The link is in the description of this live video. All right. And so until next time, um, remember that divorce is not your ending. It is just it's an initiation and opportunity for you to start a new beginning. All right. And so I will see you on the next one.